Good evening. Chair calls to order public hearing for Resolution 007-24, Master Water and Sewer Plan, Spring 2024 Update. Council, this time I'd like to recognize Mr. Dunback, Mr. Patine, and Ms. Shabita Dubois. Okay. I got you. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. The first revision is for tables and grids. Revision 1 is located at 921 South Stephanie Road, just north of Beach Creek subdivision in Aberdeen, but is not within the city limits. Zoned R2, it is shown on grid D4 of the water and sewer service area maps and is identified on tax map 58 as parcel 49. Preliminary plan approval for the now entitled Carson's Reserve subdivision creates 41 single-family lots. Therefore, this property is being moved from the Water and Sewer 5 category into the Water and Sewer 3 category. Revision 2 is located at 519 Stratford Road in the Woodcrest subdivision in Fallston. Shown on grid A4 of the Water and Sewer Service Area map, it is identified on tax map 55 as parcel 807, lot 73. It is zoned RR and has an existing dwelling located on the lot. Due to a documented failing septic system report, public health and environmental concerns, the Harford County Health Department and the homeowner have requested connection to public sewer. Therefore, it is planned to be moved from the no plan service category for sewer into the sewer 3 category. Next, we have section 3.13 entitled Proposed Developments. This was revised to remove any developments which approved preliminary plans have expired, construction has been completed, or the project is no longer active. One new development has been added, that is Carson's Reserve subdivision, previously described in revision 1. In addition, 2 projects have been removed. Crossroads at Hickory has had all of its services constructed, and Foster's Run subdivision, which was recently purchased by the county. The next 3 pages in the workbook cover Table 3-1, Plan Developments, and was updated to reflect the development activity over the last 6 months for 5 projects: Carson's Reserve, Crossroads at Hickory, Foster's Run, Grace Hall, and Magnolia Landing. The latter 2 being adjustments for the services connected from construction. The final page of Table 3-1 shown on the slide shows the revisions to the summary of the remaining residential, business, and industrially zoned units with approved preliminary plans. As you can see, the net change in residential units was a reduction of 281 units, with 2,898 units remaining. There were no changes to the residential units in a business zone or the industrial zone acreage. Table 3-3, Historical and Predicted Connections to County Water and Sewer, was updated to indicate the actual number of connections that were made during the 2023 calendar year. The future projects were also updated. The next 2 pages are for Table 3-8, Planned Waterworks Immediate 5-year and 10-year Priorities. This table was updated to reflect requests made by the City of Havre de Grace and the City of Aberdeen. No changes for Harford County are proposed in this update. The table in this workbook includes only projects to which changes are proposed. A comprehensive table showing all capital water projects in the county and the 3 municipalities can be found in Chapter 3 of the overall Water and Sewer Master Plan document. Next is Chapter 4, Table 4-2, Planned Capital Sewage Projects, Immediate 5-year and 10-year Priorities. Like the previous revision for water, this table was updated to reflect the requests made by the City of Havre de Grace and the City of Aberdeen. No changes for Harford County are proposed in this update. The table in this workbook includes only projects to which changes are proposed, and a comprehensive table showing all capital sewer projects in the county and the 3 municipalities can be found in Chapter 4 of the overall Water and Sewer Master Plan document. The next two pages are for Table 4-3, discharge record of septic haulers. This was revised to show monthly data for 2023 for all septic hauled to the Sod Run wastewater treatment facility. This revision is a standard requirement from the Maryland Department of the Environment to provide current data for each spring master plan revision. The final section in the workbook includes the written request made to Harford County for the revisions to be included in the spring 2024 Water and Sewer Master Plan update. There were two projects we did not act upon. That was moving the Andy Wargo's restaurant and the Moose Lodge into the Sewer 3 category from the Sewer No Planned category. That concludes the revisions to the spring 2024 Water and Sewer Master Plan.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to open it up to council members. Mr. Riley.
Yes, Mr. President, I will be putting in an amendment in the future to include the sewer master plan request for 308 East Jarrettsville Road, the Wargo's Restaurant, and I'll also be submitting one for the sewer master plan request for 310 East Jarrettsville Road, the Moose Lodge. Thank you, Mr. President.
And I think it's important for you to maybe expand on why you think that's important.
Okay, Mr. President, just to let the folks know that might be in the audience or in the public, there is a sleeve already under East Jarrettsville Road that will allow the sewer to go probably not even 200 feet to include this nonprofit, which is the Moose Lodge. And of course, once you connect up the Moose Lodge, that connection will also allow Andy Wargo's to also hook up. And I don't think this will further any development, but it will help these two businesses, one nonprofit and one that is a restaurant, because of their failing septic. I have two letters from the Harford County Board of Health that is requesting this also.
Thank you. Mr. Penman?
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank you for the presentation. I know that's a lot of information and a lot of evaluation. But I do support what Councilman Riley is hoping to amend. But I just want to kind of discuss how the process works and why these two weren't included in the original request. After reviewing the file, it's apparent it's a safety issue according to the health department with the septics that are failing in the area. So I just kind of want to understand the process of why these ones weren't included, but the other ones were the other two.
So we followed our process, the rules we've set for ourselves. We received the requests and we assessed them. And the first thing we assess them against is the criteria set in the Water and Sewer Master Plan document itself. And I'll read this because it's important. Quote, "The extension of public facilities to serve uses outside of the development envelope should be considered only to address health issues and must be addressed as part of a review of land use in the overall Harford County Master Plan." So that's our criteria that we've set for ourselves. We simply follow that. Based on our assessment and receiving input from the health department and from the law department, we didn't find any documented evidence of a current health or environmental hazard. Based on that, we made our assessment to not include it or not act on the request. We'd run that through the rest of the administration for approval, and that's the request booklet or the booklet that you have in front of you today.
It kind of answers my question about the criteria, but I thought on the health department suggestions that it was kind of a health and safety issue is why they were recommended those two. So, but again, I appreciate the presentation, and I look forward to supporting Councilman Riley's amendment to add these two to the plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Penman. Anyone else?
Mr. President,
Mr. Guthrie?
just let me clarify something for you. This letter from Bay State Land Services in regards to that, where they say on their page 3, the moose, regarding the moose. Pardon me?
Your mic's not
Oh,
on.
my God. It's this thing, it keeps tripping if you move this thing. Okay. I'm going to repeat myself for Gina. This letter from Bay State Land Services dated January 20, 2024, they mention in there, just toward the end, the second paragraph, right before the end, they say the moose is serviced by a private well. Of course, we all know that. Inclusion in the master plan is not being requested at this time. They didn't request it, didn't Moose request it, or are you not referring to the Moose when you're, with that sentence?
As far as the water goes, they are not requesting attachment to the water, being included in the water service area.
They're just requesting sewer.
Correct. Currently, the Wargo's Restaurant they are encompassed into the water service category, just around the restaurant itself.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Dixon, do we have anyone signed up?
We do, Mr. President. There's one, Mitch Enzer.
Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, Mitch Enzer, 1437 Sharon Acres Road, Forest Hill, Maryland, 21050. Mr. Guthrie, yes, you are correct. We are asking for public sewer service area inclusion for the Moose, but not public water service. Speaking to the inclusion into the sewer plan, I'd just like to point out that Mr. Wargo, who is in attendance tonight, does own 2 additional properties in addition to the property located at 308 East Jarrettsville Road. Only the property at 308 has the restaurant on it, and the other 2 properties that are immediately adjacent to the existing restaurant are not being requested for public sewer. So it's a very pointed request just for the property that houses the restaurant. For the Moose includes 30 acres of land. And someone may say, well, that 30 acres of land is a lot of acreage, and sending sewer to that property could open it up for development. There's Board of Appeals hearing testimony from the Department of Planning and Zoning that documents how much of the balance of the property in the rear or outside of the existing improvement area that the Moose Lodge occupies is inundated with streams, non-tidal wetlands, and forest. For that reason, there was a line struck on the request for the Moose property that only limited the sewer inclusion area just to the location of the existing improvements, and the balance of the property beyond that line is not requested to be added to the sewer plan. So it wasn't a wholesale 30-acre inclusion, it was only for the improved area that the Moose Lodge currently occupies and sends waste to an on-site disposal system. So I just wanted to clarify that. One other point of clarification. Just to be clear, if any designs, permitting, and installation has to occur or is approved to occur for these properties, the property owners themselves pay for the design, the permitting, and the construction of the sewer line should it get approved. There is no cost to the county. The county doesn't fund that extension of sewer to those properties. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
There are no more speakers, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon. With no one else signed up, this will conclude the public hearing for Resolution 007-24, and this will be taken up at a future meeting. This hearing is now closed. We're going to take a recess for about 15 minutes. Good evening, Chair. Calls to order Legislative Session Day 24-012. I would ask you to please join us in standing for the pledge, followed by the opening prayer by Councilmember Bull-Sovels. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I made a mistake. I should have had those students up front. I didn't realize till I heard them speaking. Ms. Saddles.
Heavenly Father, as we gather for this council meeting, we humbly ask for your guidance, wisdom, and unwavering support. Help us engage in meaningful discussions that strengthen our community bonds. Grant us the clarity to make decisions that serve the common good with fairness and compassion. Amen.
Thank you. Agenda item number 4, presentation of proclamations, Fair Housing Month. Ms. Siles, will you step down with your proclamation? I'd like to welcome the Harford County Association of Realtors and students forward, please.
Thought you retired.
Right. Oh, you're going to present, okay. Go right ahead. I'm sorry.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good evening. I'm
It's
Kathy
not on.
McFadden, CEO of the Harford County Association of Realtors. Thank you, Council President Vincini and members of the council for having us here today.
Could you turn the microphone on? The light should be green, I think, when it's on.
Okay. I broke it?
Yes.
You talk too loud, see?
Testing? We got
Yes.
it now. Okay. We'll just use the same one. Good evening. Can you hear me now? I'm Kathy McFadden, CEO of the Harford County Association of Realtors. Council President Vincini and members of the council, thank you for inviting us here today to celebrate Fair Housing Month. As you know, it's very important for our realtors and also our community. We have fair housing in this community. I'd like to introduce our chairperson today, and she's the chair of our Inclusive Diversity, Equity, and Awareness Committee, Brianna Stevens. And before, I'd like to also mention some people who've worked very hard on this poster contest, which you'll see tonight. And that is, over there is Dave Stromberg. He's one of our Realtor members. Laura Metz, our Director of Operations. Tamla Gudo, she's our Director of Education. And of course, you all know Veronica Rollcutt. And with that, I'll turn it over to Brianna.
Good evening. Good evening. April is National Fair Housing Month, and beginning with the Fair Housing Act in 1968, Congress established several protected classes that made it illegal to discriminate against people in the sale or rental of housing. There are additional protected classes in Maryland and Harford County. The association has a fair housing task force and over the years has invited school-aged children from across Harford County to participate in a fair housing poster contest. This year's theme is called We Are Better Together, and all participating students are being recognized for their efforts. We'd also like to recognize with us this evening Miss Luz Maria Vignola, art teacher at Fountain Green Elementary. I ask her to stand and be recognized. Well, she may not be here. The association would like to just publicly thank her for her critical role in this year's poster contest. Also with us this evening, we have our finalists for 2024, and I would like to invite them forward to be recognized. For the middle school category, Cameron Allman, first place.
She's up. We'll go up here.
Oh, should I go up to the front?
Cameron is not here.
Okay. For the elementary school category, Livia Reed, tied for first place.
That's beautiful.
Trying to show up our proclamation, I can see that.
Enrique Carbonell, tied for first place. Darcy Herman, second place. Favor Bolin, third place. And we also have 2 honorable mentions. Catherine McEwen, honorable mention. And Kate Trajanowski, honorable mention. On behalf of Harford County Association of Realtors, I'd like to thank the Harford County Council for recognizing the significance of fair housing in our community.
One of the other things that we also do is we have a pizza party for them at the Toon Center, and all the students that participated, 64 of them, was it? 68. 68. They all come and we give them gifts, we give them all sorts of stuff, and thank them for participating in this great contest. We really appreciate it. So.
Very good.
Councilman is also a teacher.
A lot of pizza.
And Ms. Sottles is, Councilman Sottles is also a realtor.
Last year, one of my students won for the middle school.
Actually, your student won this year too. Cameron won this year for
Mr. Riley, whenever you're ready.
Whereas April 2nd, 2024 marks the 56th anniversary of the passage of the U.S. Fair Housing Law, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, as amended, which enumerates a national policy of fair housing without regard to race, color, creed, national origin, sex, family status, and handicap, and encourages fair housing opportunities for all citizens. And whereas the Harford County Association of Realtors is committed to highlight the Fair Housing Law, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, by continuing to address discrimination in the community, to support programs that will educate the public about the right to equal housing opportunities, and to plan partnership efforts with their organizations to help assure every American of their right to fair housing. Now, therefore, we, the County Council of Harford County, Maryland, on this 9th day of April 2024, do hereby proclaim Fair Housing Month, April 2024, which begins a year-long commemoration of the U.S. Fair Housing Law in Harford County, and urges all citizens to wholeheartedly recognize this celebration throughout the year. Councilman Stiles?
On behalf of my colleagues and as a fellow realtor, I'm proud to present this proclamation for such an important cause, and I'm really proud of all of this beautiful artwork here tonight. You guys did an amazing job. So congratulations, and also congratulations, Kathy, on your upcoming retirement. So.
I haven't made it public, but now
I did it.
We do at the association work really hard for fair housing. One of the things that our members, we live here and we work here, and we work so hard for you as a community, and we try to do everything that we can to make sure that our realtors have all the tools they need to be good realtors and to be able to represent their clients, either a buyer or seller, the best that they can do. So we really appreciate all the councilmen. You guys have worked hard for us, and we appreciate all your support, and we know how hard you work. So thank you.
All right.
Can I have the rest of the committee come up and get their picture taken with Jessica too when he comes? And I don't know, Dave left? Dave. Oh, Dave. We call Dave our seventh employee who never gets paid. How about the kids come up front? All of us? Is that okay? Yes, what do we have in front of us?
Yeah, that's it.
Next, we have a proclamation for National Library Week, April 7th through 13th. May I have CEO Mary Hassler and Leslie Greenlee Smith come forward? Ms. Sattler? Dion?
Sorry.
Whereas libraries offer the opportunity for everyone to connect with others, learn new skills, and pursue their passions, no matter where they are on life's journey. These facilities have long served as trusted institutions, striving to ensure equitable access to information and services for all members of the community, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or socioeconomic status. And whereas the theme of the National Library Week 2024 is Ready, Set, Library. Libraries are an essential public good and fundamental institutions in the democratic societies working to improve society, protect the right to education and literacy, and promote the free exchange of information and ideas for all. And whereas libraries, librarians, and library workers are joining library supporters and advocates across the nation to celebrate National Library Week. Now, therefore, we, the County Council of Harford County, Maryland, on this 9th day of April 2024, do hereby salute National Library Week, April 7th through the 13th of 2024. During this week, we encourage all residents to visit their library to explore the wealth of resources available.
Thank you.
And on behalf of my colleagues and myself, I'd like to present this proclamation. And we are so thankful for our libraries here in the county, and all of the employees and librarians do such a phenomenal job. We appreciate everything you do. So, thank you.
Oh, you know she wants to talk. 3 minutes.
Sam, you have something really important
Start
on
the clock.
Speaking for the library, you got 5.
Wait, everybody who knows me knows I love talking about the library. I have the best job in the universe. It still is the best job. And I just want to thank everyone. Thank everyone who's here tonight. Thank our county council who worked so hard for us. Thank Jessica, because she is our representative on our library board of trustees. And also thank everyone who uses our libraries. We work so hard to provide resources and books and programs and events, and the wow factor here in Harford County. I always say I bring a little bit of Disney to Harford, and that's what we strive to do every day. So stop by. Today is National Library Workers Day. Our workers are the best. I would compete with any library system in this country, including the Brooklyn Public Library, for the best in show, and that's our staff. They really, truly give their entire heart and their soul to providing public library services to everyone and making sure you have the availability to read what you want to read and what your family wants to read. And no one else can tell you what you can or cannot read. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. All right. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So, council, if I may, before I go any further, I want to recognize the fact that Councilman Jan Giordano is not with us this evening. He's a little under the weather, and we miss him. Had to make some changes as far as reading, so I'm sure he'll be back next meeting. Agenda item number 5, consideration of petitions, applications, appointments, and nominations. We have none. 6, special presentations. We have none. 7, approval of minutes, public hearing April 2nd, 2024, legislative day 24-011, April 2nd, 2024. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing no corrections, the minutes stand approved. 8, introduction and consideration of resolutions. Resolution 00824, Housing Agency Administrative Plan. May I have a motion?
Council President, I move to approve Resolution 00824,
Thank you.
Housing Agency Administrative Plan.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. Moved and seconded to approve Resolution 008-24. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President?
Aye.
Mr. Guthrie?
Aye.
Mr. Penman?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Bolsados?
Aye.
Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
There being 6 votes in the affirmative, 1 absent, Resolution 00824 is hereby approved. Number 9, introduction of bills. We have none. 10, introduction and consideration of amendments. Mr. Penman, please read in amendments 1 through 6 to Bill 24-008 fire lanes.
Yes, Mr. President. Amendments 1 through 4 to Bill number 24-008 fire lanes, introduced by Councilman Member Penman. Amendment number 1 on page 5 in line 2, strike shall and substitute with may. Amendment number 2 on page 5 in line 5, strike his, her, and substitute their respective. Amendment number 3 on page 6 in line 14, strike on his, her own, and substitute individually. Amendment number 4 on page 6 in line 15, after the opening bracket, insert or. Amendments 5 and 6 to Bill number 24-008 fire lanes, introduced by Councilmember Gian Giordano. Amendments number 5 on page 2 in line 9, after permits, insert or their respective designee. Amendments number 6 on page 3 in line 8, after permits, insert or their respective designee. That's all, Mr. President.
Thank you. Because of the timely manner here, these will be voted on tonight, so may I have a motion?
Council President, I move to approve amendments 1 through 6 to Bill 24-008.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. It's been moved and seconded to approve amendments 1 through 6 to Bill 24-008. Is there any discussion? Mr. Bennett.
I think all these amendments are, for the most part, clerical, but I just was hoping maybe Councilman Penman could explain the reasoning behind striking shall and substituting may. I've just learned over the past year how big of a difference there are between those two words, shall and may, in regards to what things do once you change a shall to a may or a may to a shall. So I just thought it would be good to provide the public the context for that change and what that change means to you in inserting it.
Yes. Thank you for posing the question. Last week, or I think it was last week, we discussed in the public hearing the difference between may and shall and why it applies to this. A lot of the parameters on establishing these fire lanes are going to be determined by the stakeholders, the Office of DILP, and law enforcement. Public safety will not know generally the regulations that should comply with the standard as far as length, signage, all those things. So I wanted to make sure the ability of law enforcement to be able to make notification, but shall is a little more heavy than may, if that makes sense.
Right, so they're not required to, but they can.
That's correct.
Mr. Guthrie.
Just as a footnote, in collective bargaining negotiations, the two big words that we always have trouble with is shall and will. And so I was glad to see there's a different word aside from those two words, because there's been court cases on those two words, whether you shall do something or you will do something in a collective bargaining agreement. So you have to be careful when you're doing them CBAs to take care of that, but I prefer the word may. It's better.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President?
Aye.
Mr. Guthrie?
Yes.
Mr.
Aye.
Mr. Penman?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Bulls-Saddles?
Aye.
Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
There being 6 votes in the affirmative, 1 absent, amendments 1 through 6 to Bill 24-008 are hereby approved. 11, call for final reading of bills. Bill 24-007, comprehensive zoning review process as introduced. May I have a motion?
Council President, I move to approve Bill 24-007, comprehensive zoning review process.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. It's moved and seconded to approve Bill 24-007 as introduced. Is there any discussion? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President?
Aye.
Mr. Guthrie?
Aye.
Mr. Penman?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Bulls-Saddles?
Aye.
Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
There being 6 votes in the affirmative, 1 absent, Bill 24-007 is hereby approved. Bill 24-008, fire lanes as amended. May I have a motion?
Council President, I move to approve Bill 24-008, fire lanes as amended.
May I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. It's moved and seconded to approve Bill 24-008, fire lanes as amended. Is there any discussion? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President?
Aye.
Mr. Guthrie?
Aye.
Mr. Penman?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Bolsados?
Aye.
Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
There being 6 votes in the affirmative, 1 absent, Bill 24-008 as amended is hereby approved. Agenda number 12, enrollment of bills, Bill 24-007, comprehensive zoning review process as introduced. Bill 24-008, fire lanes as amended is certified as being the text finally passed. 13, unfinished business, we have none. 14, new business. So, over the past year, few months, we've heard a lot of discussion about code, charter, and it has reared its ugly head again. And I just think that it needs to come out in the public. It has been brought to my attention that there has been, I believe, a violation of the code with retaining outside counsel. We have had correspondence back and forth through Mr. Kearney to Mr. Blomquist requesting that that outside counsel be terminated. As the charter and the code states, it is only with council approval. There was a request to put it on the agenda. It did not make it on that particular agenda, and from there, it moved far beyond anywhere we thought it would without our involvement. The code and the charter are truly our guiding documents. We've heard a lot of discussion over the last year plus, actually my entire time I've been on the council, that they are our guiding documents and we need to follow those. We need to follow those for a reason. And unfortunately, I felt like I had to bring it to the public. I had to make my council members aware. And I've done that now. And I think that council members, if they have any questions, they feel free to address Mr. Kearney, and we can go from there. And there being no questions, then this will take up, we will take this up at a future meeting. B, county attorney requests to approve settlement of notice of claim. So at this time, council, I propose the council go into closed session as permitted by sections 3-305, B7, and B8 of the general provisions article in order to receive information from the county attorney regarding his request that the council approve a settlement in a matter where a notice of claim has been received and to consult with the council attorney about this issue. May I have a motion?
Council President, I move to go into closed session.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. Is there any discussion? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President?
Aye.
Mr. Guthrie?
Aye.
Mr. Penman?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Bolsados? Aye. Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
There being 6 votes in the affirmative, 1 absent, council will be moving into closed session is hereby approved. Copies of the written statement of the reasons for closing this meeting will be made available to anyone who wants one now. The council will reconvene in open session following the completion of the closed session and thereafter will continue its agenda until all items are concluded. And now the county council will go into closed session under sections 3-305B, 7, and 8 of the general provisions article. Council will go ahead and reconvene into open session. And I'd like to start with C, legal fee reimbursement for 3 county employees. Was brought to our attention a while back that 2 of our IT members and 1 of our HR members hired outside counsel. And at this time, we want to go ahead and reimburse them for their out-of-pocket expenses. May I have a motion, please? Anyone?
I'll make a motion that we pay with our out-of-pocket expenses.
Thank you, Mr.
The
Guthrie.
3
May I have a
individuals.
second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Soddles.
The clarification, that would be the county would reimburse them?
Yes.
For their out-of-pocket expenses. And then they would have to prove what they spent.
It's been moved and seconded for this reimbursement. Is there any discussion? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President?
Aye.
Mr. Guthrie?
Aye.
Mr. Penman?
Abstain.
Mr. Riley?
Accuse myself.
Mrs. Bulsaddles?
Aye.
Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
There being 4 votes in the affirmative, 1 absent, 2 abstentions, the legal fee reimbursement for 3 county employees is hereby approved. Agenda item number 17, comments and input from attending citizens. And before we go any further, I want to thank everyone for your patience this evening. Ms. Dixon, do we have anyone signed up to speak?
You do, Mr. President. I believe we have 9 this evening.
Will you call your first speaker and remind everyone that you have 3 minutes to speak, and we would ask you to be respectful of each other.
Mark Hamilton, followed by Josie Cosgrove.
Mr. Hamilton? Okay.
Cindy Poper, followed by Tracy Papenchak.
Good evening, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Cindy Poper, 952 Angel Valley Court, Edgewood. Good evening, council. Last year at this time, we hoped we were in a one-time battle for appropriate funding. I appreciate all that you did last year to make things better. I sincerely thank you. Who would have thought that we would be back in the same predicament again this year? We might have thought it, but we hoped it would not be true. So much for that. Mr. Casserly's doom and gloom messages are absurd. Yes, revenue is down, $13 million, a mere rounding error in the county's $1.2 billion budget, or more specifically, a mere 1.75% of the general fund. Yet he's using this as his reason to back off from his promise to increase funding by 5% to Harford County Public Schools and the Harford County Sheriff's Office. Mr. Casserly likens the county budget to the family budget. Yes, when times are lean, we cut expenses, but we also look at other ways to increase revenue. We get second jobs or do other things to earn more money. Increasing revenue is not limited to increasing taxes on the citizens of the county. What Mr. Casserly forgets is that when most families face tough times, what they don't do is mortgage their children's future. As adults, we tighten our belts and we do without to ensure that our children have what they need. Mr. Casserly is mortgaging this county's future. One of the things that has always brought people to this county has been our schools. Not anymore. With some of the largest class sizes in the state, doomed to get even larger next year, with the lowest per pupil spending in the state, and with the elimination of programs, offerings, and extracurricular activities, our schools will soon become some of the least sought after in the state. We also know that failing schools lead to other problems: increased crime, school-to-prison pipeline, lack of business investment, withdrawal of existing employers, and even the loss of APG. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. As an 18-year veteran educator, I've seen what the staff of HCPS is capable of. We know how to do more with less. In fact, we're damn experts at it. We've been doing it for years. We put our heart and souls into our kids, even if others aren't willing to put the dollars into them. I know standing here that I'm addressing the wrong audience. This situation is not your doing, but you seem to be the only ones listening and the only ones that have the opportunity to do something to fix it. I'm asking, no, I'm begging. Please do what you can to correct Mr. Casserly's bare minimum funding of those things that mean the most to this county and its children. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Tracy Papenchak. David Bauer, followed by Benita Anderson.
Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening. I'm David Bauer, 2952 Kirkwall Court, Abingdon. No notes today. So I have been here before mostly to advocate for the school system and funding for the school system. Today, I want to be broader. I want to advocate for the county, the whole community, and our future. First, I'm going to look back a little bit. 2 years ago, Mr. Glassman, in his final year with his final budget, cut taxes for this county. At the time, the situation was very different. There's a large fund balance. Maybe it was reasonable to temporarily lower taxes. But as soon as Mr. Castley took office, he started talking about the structural deficit that this county has. But he chose to leave that structural deficit in place with his budget last year. In fact, he made it much worse with respect to the school system by cutting the school district's budget such that they had to both spend a lot more of their own fund balance and also accelerate the use of grants, setting up a much worse financial cliff this year. At the same time, we have a lot of other services that this government provides to the county. It's National Library Week. I was actually looking earlier today at the growth in the library budget over time compared to the overall general fund. If for this current fiscal year, the library system had received the same percentage of the county's general fund as it had a decade earlier. In fiscal year 2014, that would be an 18% increase. Would that be enough to restore Sunday services? I don't know. I wrote you all a month ago talking about a bill that the legislature was at that time still working on to allow library system employees to join bargaining units. I talked about how Delegate McComas had tried to amend the bill saying Harford County can't afford that. Well, I'm pretty sure that bill passed. So we have the library system, we have the school system, we have others, parks and recs and more. Meanwhile, we have a county executive whose oath of office says you should faithfully execute the office without prejudice, showing this extreme anti-tax prejudice, leaving us with this structural deficit that you all can a little bit fix.
Mr. Bauer, please
Thank you.
bring your comments to a close.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Benita Anderson, followed by Douglas Rudd. Colleen Bianco, followed by Heather Morse.
Good evening, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Colleen Bianco, 3049 Abingdon Road. I'm one that survived. I can tell you the next speaker left too. Good evening. I come here again tonight to ask for your support of the Board of Ed's budget. It is a bare bones budget. There is no fat left to trim. I know there are others who will come up and question line items who are not in the school system. I am in the trenches every day, and I have been for the past 22 years. There is no way that we can find $40 million in items to cut to survive. I became a teacher to make a difference. My hope is that I leave a legacy where my students thrive and not just survive. I ask you, what legacy do you wish to leave behind as a council member? Do you want to be known for being a part of a council that allowed the school system to be underfunded by $40 million? Finding $40 million to cut is unimaginable. Our county will not thrive. Our county will not survive. We will drown. Last week I said, the camel's back is about to break. Is that what you want to be known for in the end? Who suffers the most in all of this? The students. Please do all that you can to share with the county executive your concerns with his proposed budget for the school system. And finally, I say, what do you want your legacy to be? Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no more speakers, Mr. President.
With no more speakers, we'll move to agenda item 16, business from council members. Mr. Bennett.
Hello, Mr. President. Thank you all for being here tonight, especially for those who waited out our closed session and stayed here. I think that's important, and I appreciate it. Tonight was the HCPS Celebration of Excellence in Education, where there were many nominees and finalists and awardees recognized for what they do each and every day in our school system. And I want to congratulate all those. I know as a former Teacher of the Year finalist, what an honor that is and what an achievement it is to be recognized by your community. Especially want to recognize Mr. Ron Wooden, who hired me as a school teacher 8 years ago and was recognized as the Harford County Principal of the Year this year. He's a good man and a mentor to me, and I appreciate what he does every day. I also want to let everybody know that Jackie Robinson Day will be celebrated at Aberdeen High School's baseball game on April 12th. And this came to us thanks to a different District F resident, Aberdeen Science and Math Academy student, and Aberdeen High School varsity baseball player, KJ Miller, who came to us several months ago and said, I want to see Jackie Robinson Day celebrated. And his entire youth experience through baseball, it's never come up in Parks and Rec, in high school, and he wanted to see it come together. And after months of work, it's coming together, and we're going to celebrate it with a little bit of a ceremony at the game on April 12th. So if you want to come and see some kids play baseball and to see some history be celebrated, I encourage you to come to that game at Aberdeen High School on April 12th. So that's everything for me tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Ms. Sotos?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As we celebrate National Library Week, today holds a special significance as National Library Workers' Day. A heartfelt thank you to all of the employees of the Harford County Public Library for their dedication and hard work. Also, I'm pleased by the recent release of the Sheriff's Office Community Survey results. They clearly demonstrate the effectiveness and proactive nature of our county's law enforcement agencies. If you haven't had the opportunity to review the report, it is available online. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sotos. Mr. Riley?
Yes, I just want to congratulate Boy Scout Troop 809 in Jarrettsville. They had me there so they could earn their elected official badge. So congrats to all those folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Mr. Penman?
Thank you, Mr. President. On Monday, the budget is scheduled to be released to the county council for review. I think everyone on the council and the community understands that this will be a very difficult budget process. I would like to convey that my citizen budget advisor and I will work tirelessly to fully understand the budget and the ramifications of any potential cuts. After review, I will advocate to invest in people and organizations wherever possible. As we did last year, my office will be transparent and release reviews and updates as the conversation takes place. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Penman. Mr. Guthrie?
Mr. President, thank you. I'll be brief because of the hour, because I'm between you and going out the door. I did, today, I ran over to Mountain Christian Church for the Excellent in Education Awards, because I took all the proclamations from the council over there so they could give them out. I'd like to just mention the ones from my district that did so well. For Teacher of the Year, Eric Richardson, a social studies teacher from Chabatown High School. Principal Laurel namely from Magnolia Middle School, Ronald Wooden from Old Post Road Elementary School. Assistant Principal Eric Mooring from Magnolia Elementary School. Tara Semple from Riverside Elementary School. Education Support Professional Noel Fish, First from Administrator from the Support Specialist from Deerfield Elementary, and Daryl Howell from School Legislation Safety Liaison from Magnolia Middle School. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. 15, business from the president. First and foremost, I want to thank all of you again for your patience. We knew this was going to take some time, and it was something that we had to deal with. And I appreciate council members, appreciate Mr. Kearney, Mr. Blumquist for taking the time to meet with all of us upstairs. So I need to take care of some business as far as the budget's concerned. I want to go ahead and advertise the fiscal 25 council budget work sessions again. That's Monday, April 22nd, Tuesday, April 23rd, Monday, April 29th, and Tuesday, April 30th. In these chambers. Copy of the schedule will be on our website. Audio live stream will be available during the 4 days of meetings. Audio of the meeting will be archived on the council website. And then also our budget public hearings are scheduled for Wednesday, May 8th at 7:30 PM in these chambers. Monday, May 13th, 7:30 in these chambers. Video and audio will be live streamed and archived on the council website as well. And then I have been communicating with Councilman Jan Giordano. He is still not doing well at all, so I'm going to wish him the best. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thank you.